これはカラハツタケという毒キノコ。帝の愛読書です。ありがたく頂戴する。
She's unable to accept help, receive help, even from those that's close to her, without doing something, without this impulse, this compulsory desire to make sure, oh, let me do something in return so I don't incur any debt. That is trauma because of Mao Mao's attachment struggle, her traumatic upbringing. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated licensed psychotherapist and your favorite yapper. Welcome back to my detailed psychological analysis of the Apothecary Diaries episode 22. Here's countdown to the last 2 episodes before the season finale. Assassination Zero, Foxlow's Gaming, Tirtanas, Wuxiang, Samsonian, Helixi, and Jin Ichimaru are the sponsored tier highlights of today's video. I appreciate your support. Happy New Year, happy holidays to everyone. Remember, you matter. You are worthy. Sit back, and I hope you enjoy.
春の芽吹きを感じる頃、玉葉様の妊娠は確かなもの。
Aww.
不思議だな。赤子がいる。
It's time.
縁談が持ち込まれて全力で引き止められる。
This scene also reminds me of a very popular setting for wedding season. I love love. A lot of wedding photographers have that under their Instagram bio or their descriptions. I love love. Just like how love is inspiring, we all aspire to be in a loving relationship. Similarly here, I think Hongyang was aspiring to, one day with my prince with shining armor, maybe my prince will show up in a horse with this shining armor to also propose so we can also start a family. This is because happiness, family, quality time, they're all contagious. When we see other people being happy, we love that for them. At the same time, we also aspire and extrapolate beyond them. And by putting ourselves in that situation, say, one day, if they can be happy, if they can experience this amazing, pure happiness, how about me? So can I. That's hope. That is the power and the beauty of hope. Aww, she really grew up. It's been a couple years. Yes. I wonder what's the reason behind what Mama just said. Wow, time really flies. Whereas the 2 months I spent at Master Jinshi's office felt like forever. Is that because of the involvement with Master Lakan? Her suspected, or I guess confirmed, her confirmed father? Is it because of all the puzzle solving, all the murder mystery, all the politics? And I'm sure, of course, the fact that she almost got killed by getting slammed by that palace guard. And the second time she almost got killed by saving Master Jinshi from that falling object from the ceremony. Is it because of her risky situations, her potential near loss of life that she said felt like forever? Or is it genuinely because she feels more comfortable and at home with Lady Yokyu and Hongyang, who love her, who adore her? I'm sure it's all the above, but I'm just curious.
またお絵描きしますか?
Hi. Oh, she knows how to talk.
これはカラハツタケという毒キノコ。普通の花を描く。普通の花ね。
Yo, you're freaking a little child is asking you to draw a picture, and the first picture you draw is poisonous mushroom? Oh, Mama, because I was just to be impressed by Mama's also maternal instinct against a little child. But she has ways to go. So episode 22, Blue Rose. In Chinese, 第22话, 清德, I forgot how to pronounce those, but it's literally rose in Chinese. And my suspicion at the end of episode 21 with the cliffhanger of Master Lakan murmuring Blue Rose is I was predicting and suspecting that that was reference to Mao Mao. Or Blue Rose is very rare, just like Mao Mao, but we'll see what it's about.
宮中によく生けていたものですが、夢でも見たのでは青い装備など存在しないでしょう。
They
そ
do.
れが合うのですよ。
They do. I've seen blue roses.
また皆でめでたいものですな。
So I've obviously I record these episodes ahead of time, like a couple of weeks ahead. So I'm always so a lot of people are like, "Oh, I told you about this in last week's episode. How come you didn't incorporate X, Y, and Z? Whatever helpful feedback information." Because it's too late. I'm already done with X amount of episodes by the time I see the comments, especially on YouTube, even on Patreon, since I do record 1 week ahead of the early access schedule for Patreon. But I'm saying that because I do know that I have been overcooking with Master Lock-On, right? We have moderators, so I did not see a lot of spoilers since they've been deleted. So if you feel like your comments been being deleted, it's because they did, because you probably posted spoilers. Shout out to the moderators. But so all that to say, I have been overcooking because of my own biases and my own triggering and getting activated by the suspected sexual trauma based on my analysis of Master Lock-On and Mao Mao's mother. But I already talked about it in the earlier episodes because, again, I'm not ChatGPT. I'm not a robot. I have my own emotions. And my emotions, based on me putting myself into this story setting, this immersive world, also influences my analysis. Makes sense? All that to say, I'm going to continue my over-analysis. And hopefully I don't overcook by too much. But here it goes. So they're having a conversation about blue roses. These mysterious blue roses that allegedly only Master Lock-On himself has seen. I think all of this is euphemism. I think all of this is metaphorical conversations. Sure, maybe it's about the aesthetics of blue roses. Sure, maybe Master Lock-On indeed does want to see the scene, the scenery, and the beauty of these rare blue roses. Sure, but I think that's the surface. I think the deeper level is I think it's about Mao Mao and maybe even about Master Jinshi himself. Remember in a couple episodes ago, Master Lock-On was talking with the Metalwork Brothers episode. He talked about meritocracy, right? Based on merit. He talked about if you have talent, you deserve more attention. And I know in hindsight, Lock-On was hinting at Mao Mao. Mao Mao has tremendous talents because she's my daughter and because of X, Y, and Z. So she deserves more than just being your own executive assistant toward Jinshi. And I think he was also referring to Master Jinshi himself, right? As many people pointed out, that Master Jinshi also deserves a spotlight as a secret crown prince because he has the talent and the birthright and so on. Here, I think this is a parallel process, an ongoing metaphorical speech and conversation. That blue roses do exist, aka Mao Mao, and she is my daughter. I would like to see her everywhere I go in the River Palace. I wonder, can we make that happen? This is a request from Lock-On to Jinshi because Lock-On knows that Jinshi has the authority as a prince and B, as the employer, as someone who bought out Mao Mao, Lock-On's daughter. Does that make sense? That's the perspective I'm going.
あなた様であれば、出せぬことなどないのでは？
Yep,
わかりました。
within your
そのよ
power.
うな装備があるのなら、
Mao Mao, I'm telling you. Goodness, I can't wait.
それでは。
I hope to see it at the next garden party. Again, based on my analysis, who was missing at the last garden party? Master Jinshi. He didn't make it to the garden party. That's why people didn't see him with the wardrobe. That's why I didn't catch on to his secret prince identity until a few episodes later because he never made it to the party. Again, Lock-On's parting words are, I hope to see it at the garden party. One, he wants to see Master Jinshi in his rightful wardrobe as the prince, the brother to the emperor, the less secretive identity. And two, I hope to see Mao Mao deserving more spotlight than she has now because she's my daughter, I think is what Master Lock-On is saying. Of course, I could be entirely wrong.
言うな。とりあえず国中の花屋を当たってくれ。
And yeah, like I said, level 1 is actually about blue roses and he wants to see them. And this also solidifies how high ranking Master Lock-On is. That he, knowing Master Jinshi's background as a prince, he still has the audacity to make such bold requests. This also, again, suggests Lock-On's extremely high ranking as a military officer in the nation. That he has the ability to make such requests without being fearful for any repercussions or being reprimanded. Because again, he's probably one of the highest military officers.
皆で青い装備をめでようということになってな。
青い装備。
I bet
私は薬屋ですが。
I will be damned if Mao Mao is the one they rely upon to find and discover these blue roses.
分かっている。
何か訳ありか？
Your
や
dad,
けに
Mao
疲れ
Mao.
てるな。
Your dad prompted this.
装備か。少しなら知識はあるが。
Of course Mao Mao does. What doesn't Mao Mao know? Of course Mao Mao, the apothecary, is the one that's going to solve this difficult task at hand. And that begs my question, did Master Locke knew that Mao Mao had access and had known about these blue roses? And was this Locke's plan all along to get his own daughter Mao Mao involved? So many questions.
だが、
She even sold them?
本当に青い装備を見たと？
あ
幻覚剤は流行っています。
あ。んなもの回ってたら国が滅ぶわ。
様
無理だろうか。
So when Mao Mao is there a new hallucinogen? Since if you look at substance use disorder in DSM-5, hallucinogens disorder, amphetamine disorder, substance use disorder, it encompasses a lot of different substances. And of course, hallucinogens are like magic mushrooms, psilocybin, acid, MDMA, and so on. And obviously, Jinshi, as a secret prince, he freaked out. He's like, that will ruin our nation. I don't know if this is historically accurate in terms of the writer's intention, but I do know that towards the end of Qing Dynasty, in terms of Chinese history, a lot of opioids and even marijuana were getting imported from Europe internationally. And I know opioid crisis was a massive, I forgot if it was a crack epidemic or opioid crisis. I think it was the opioids. I do know that opioid crisis was a major disturbance and a national crisis towards the end of Qing Dynasty because it made people lazy, decreased productivity, workforce, social impact, and so on. And yeah, a lot of historians attribute towards the end, the fall of the dynasties themselves, not necessarily Qing, but just Chinese dynasties because of the rapid rise of substance use and again, opioids specifically. So I think that was a very subtle but historical callback to why Jinshi has such a massive reactions because China is extremely conservative. And even now, in modern sense, cannabis or weed in China is considered like absolutely horrible, like heroin. That's the stigma. That's the social norm.
どのようにすればよろしいのですか？
来月の園遊会に用意できるか？
By next
来
month.
月、
断っておく。
jin氏様のこの反応。
Uh-oh. Lakan.
とある軍師
Yo!
から持ちかけられた
Mao
の
Mao
で
knows. Mao Mao knows.
ああ。
わかりました。
Wow. Oh, goosebumps.
どうせならあのニヤ
Quick pause. Look at the pause screen and look at Mao Mao's smirk. This is I don't want to call it sinister and I don't want to call it sociopathic because Mao Mao is not a sociopath. But remember, as I talked about in the last episode, it is as if it's like a murderer's stare and it's as if it was like a sociopathic smirk. It's very ominous, seemingly insidious, and there's a lot of planning and intention behind that, right? But I just want to highlight just the impactful smirk by Mao Mao because, anyway, I love this because she's like, I cannot run away forever. The only way to reclaim power, and this is the reason why a lot of therapists, a lot of psychological helpers, life coaches, and so on, this is the reason why the saying of do not be a victim, the victim mindset, victimhood, became popularized clinically. Again, there's a lot of context. What does it mean? And the best way I can say this is two things. One, all of us are victims to larger circumstances that we call life simply because we cannot control or influence the outcome in life. Plain and simple, that's a fact. All of us or victims to larger circumstances that we call life. At the same time, the second thing, as I talked about in my Taikopi series, that not all of us need to play victims. Because the reason why victim mindset doesn't help with our lives and getting better is because by claiming victimhood, we are admitting to ourselves psychologically that there's nothing we can do about our lives. Why? Because of trauma, because X, Y, and Z. Of course, valid reasons and valid circumstances. At the same time, by us living out a victim mindset, it means we think there's nothing we can do. We are giving away all of our power and our capacity to change to them. It's their fault. It's the society's fault. It's the sexism's fault. It's the patriarchal's fault. You fill in the blank. There's so many issues and situations. Life will never be perfect. Even a great country like the United States will have its downfalls, issues, checks and balances, and so on. But this is a reason why we must do two things. One, accept the power of trauma and the fact that we cannot control our future. That's being a victim to the larger circumstance that I talked about. But the more important thing is we also have to accept that we can choose empowerment. We can choose victorhood, victory, healing, power, transformation. Because unless we accept that there's something we can do about it, we will never get out of our victimhood. Does that make sense? It's a little bit complicated. That's why I'm being quite wordy. But here, that's what Mama is demonstrating, that running away and escaping is not the answer forever. I need to confront my issue head on. Otherwise, Mama and all of us will be living under the shadow of that dooming whatever trauma that we're afraid of. Fill in the blank. Again, it's not our fault that bad thing happened to us, but it is our sole responsibility, or the biggest responsibility, to do something about it. Also, within those episodes, when I think it was episode 20, or was maybe 18, 19, 20, I forgot, one of those episodes, when Jinshi saw Mamao's murderous stare for the first time for the split second, think about how far Mamao has come. She has come from this involuntary response, because that face that Mamao displayed was involuntary. It was a trauma response. She cannot take a second and control her facial expression because she was triggered and activated by the strategist, aka lock-on. That's why she showed that face in the split second. And I think that split second was intentional by the writer, is to show the adaptation from light novels and manga that, hey, it was so reflexive. It was such a reflexive, involuntary response. It happened so fast. I think that's the intention, why it was a split second scene. But to now, she has a smirk, but she's not avoiding, she's not running away. She's actually said, you know what, is that certain strategist request? Let me take it on. I'll make it happen. Again, goes back to my question. Was all of this, the fact that Mama will take this as a challenge and accept the request, was that also intended by Master Lacan? I think it is, because he's a master strategist. When you play chess, you play 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. Li Hua! Oh, she looks so healthy.
今回それをお借りするのだが、さすがにただでは申し訳ない。さあ、こちら、帝の愛読書です。ありがたく頂戴する。
This speaks to Mamao's principle. She is such a principled individual that despite them being very close, her and Lady Li Hua, despite Mamao saving Li Hua's life and... Oh, I guess, just kidding, I take that back. I forgot Li Hua's son didn't make it. Rest in peace, rest in power. But despite Mamao saving Li Hua's life, Mamao still feels indebted to use the steam house that she built to save Li Hua's life. That's why she gave Li Hua the favorite explicit, reading materials to perform in the bedroom for Emperor. That's Mao Mao's principle. At the same time, the deeper level is that's also Mao Mao's trauma. She's unable to accept help, receive help, even from those that's close to her, without doing something, without this impulse, this compulsory desire to make sure, let me do something in return so I don't incur any debt. That is trauma. because of Mama's attachment struggle, her traumatic upbringing. Why? Because from Mama's perspective, remember, this show is called Apothecary Diaries. From Mama's perspective, she has never received unconditional love by her mom, who tried to kill her with that dagger. So if our moms, our caregivers, our parents have never shown us what unconditional love is, looks like, and feels like, how can we learn to accept things and favors from other people? The question is very hard because we've never seen it happen. We've never seen it role modeled in our lives as a child. That's why as adults, many of us struggle to accept help, to receive help. Even if other people mean it, they want to give it to us. That's why we're seeing this Mama feel the need, the urge to do something in return, even though Li Hua is more than happy to help her out because of everything I talked about. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Inability to receive love, trauma response.
ジンシ様、
ああ、来たか。言われた通り立てさせたが、一体どうするんだ？
装備を狂わせるんです。
装備を狂わせる？どういう意味だ、薬屋。
Yo, again, I'm not a chemist, but I'm guessing Mao Mao is going to use some sort of a chemical reaction with steam, pressure, heat to force like a color change for roses to maybe produce and create blue roses. That's my guess. Unless they have access to color dyes.
日光を入れて、あ
Back in
そ
the
こ
days?
から蒸気を小屋の中に送ります。温めた部屋で装備を育てるんです。花が開花の季節を間違えてくれるかもしれません。
Wow, okay, interesting. Mao Mao is going to manipulate photosynthesis and the process of growth of roses. Mao Mao, what don't you know? Again, I'm sure all the knowledge Mao Mao has access to and accumulated is from her adoptive father, Luomen. So I guess my question is, Luomen, how freaking smart are you? No wonder you were educated both in the West and the East. What an amazing physician you were, or you are. Yo, this is high level scientific experiment. Amazing. Oh! It's bleeding. Oh! Mama and Xiaolan. Dude, Xiaolan hasn't made appearance and she hasn't received camera time in a while. Because Mama has been too busy solving mysteries and crimes and so on that she didn't have time to spill tea, share, or I guess for Xiaolan to spill tea and for Mama to literally share tea and desserts and so on.
私も手伝うよ。
Aww.
足の怪我大丈夫？無理だけはするだって散々言われたもん。
Look at how flustered Jinxi is with that quick, very comical scenes about Mao Mao's leg bleeding and all that. Guys, do not forget the psychological profiling and who Jinxi is. He's very calm, very smart, sharp, high power as a secret prince. His ability to tolerate the stress or stress management. Like all of Jinxi's intellectual and cognitive and psychological hardwares are top notch. You have to be top notch as heirs, as like a royal lineage. All of this is trained since you're like 2, 3, 4 years old, right? Same thing for billionaire, the children's a billionaire, same thing. They go through extremely rigorous pathways, school, training, things that just general public like us don't have access to because they live in such a different world. Does that make sense? Yet, the one person that makes Jinxi makes him lose his composure, makes him flustered, makes him so anxious is Mao Mao. Because when there's love, when we care about someone with deep conviction, such deep conviction, there's no logic. Logic goes out the window. That's the power of emotions. That's why my emphasis for all my series is always about emotions. Because humans are social and emotional creatures, full stop. So unless we learn about our emotions, master our emotional reactions and responses, we are going to struggle in this container of life, relationships, work, because emotions always spill over. It might not be now, but it will eventually. The floodgate will open wide. And to prevent the floodgate moments with our emotions, we have to learn. We have to be honest. We have to face our emotions.
手伝わせてごめん。
久しぶりに一緒だね。
Yeah, nice. So far feels like a filler episode, but I'm sure the second half is gonna hit us like a truck.
うわー、すごい
It's a
量。
lot of plants.
種類はばらけさせ、できるだけ早咲きのものを選んだ。全部咲くかな。そうなってほしいけど。
Let's see if she can make the plants go wild. True. True.
間違って全てから。
Oh, the biggest challenge of this episode and the task, the biggest limiting factor is time. Because the garden party happens in a month and there's no do-over because of the limitation of time. And Mama was hyper aware. Every scientist, before we conduct a scientific experiment, scientific study, the first thing we must be hyper aware is the limitation, the limiting factors. Every control study, every peer-reviewed scientific study requires knowledge about limitations. So that's what Mama is doing. She knows what the limitations are and reverse engineer and then work backwards to make sure no do-over. If we kill all the plants, it's game over. We will not have enough time until the garden party. Okay. Labor of love. This is tremendous labor. Tremendous attention to details.
差し入れです。
Treats. Snacks.
あ
Buns.
りがとうございます。
Nice.
仕事サボれておやつまでもらえるなんて。
Also, I realized one of the, I guess, pillars, one of the recurring elements of this show is anytime Xiaolan and Mama hang out, they're always sharing snacks. Literally, I said that earlier, right? Lo and behold, boom! Gaoshan brings in 2 buns, steam buns for Mama and Xiaolan. So I guess Xiaolan represents food in this show.
これも仕事だけどね。
True.
どうしたんだろう。さあ、
Who's that?
物珍しいのか。
Who that?
それとも
Peeping
怖いもの見
Toms?
たさか。
Oh, aren't those Lady Li Hua's ladies in waiting?
何したらいい？新芽の多い苗があったらいくつか摘んでくれる？栄養が集中して咲きやすくなりますし、病気の予防になるんです。
Oh, bro, caterpillar. Oh my gosh, dude.
ありがとうございます。
Yo, were those eunuchs? Were they afraid of that caterpillar because of their loss of testosterone? Because they're eunuchs, or they're just they don't like insects? Oh, here comes the rain. Oh, another limiting factor that Mamba didn't say explicitly is external weather conditions. Because they need the sun. Their entire strategy is to confuse the photosynthesis synthetic process by the plants to make them go mad so they can blossom and bloom prematurely to make that deadline. But of course, weathers cannot be predicted and controlled. So weather is the ultimate uncontrollable variable in this scientific study. And obviously back then, the weather forecast system is not as accurate as we have now with this modern technology. And that's why there's so much superstitions involved with praying to shamans and so on. If you feel like the weather is nice, then the gods have blessed us. If the weathers are not nice, then the gods are cursing at us, gods are mad at us, and so on. So they will give different animal sacrifices. But here, despite Mamao's best scientific effort to control as many variables as possible in a controlled setting, the ultimate weather. Because remember, weather represents what in storytelling? Externalities. What are externalities? Things outside of our control. And weather is always used to depict our internal landscape, our internal mood. Happy, sunshine. Sad, rain. Calm before the storm, something transformative is going to happen, winter before the spring. So I'm sure the fact that it's raining now, there is some symbolism there. I wonder what it is. Yeah, rain's not helping. I might be overcooking, but I wonder if the storm, like I said, it represents Mamao's, I guess, position, Mamao's situation, that that yes, she's well respected. Yes, she has befriended and is and adored by many people. And yes, she is in a pretty powerful position, not officially, but unofficially. Her social capital is tremendously deep, right? Social capital is our social influence. Obviously, Jinxi, Gaoxian, and everyone. She's the only lady in waiting who can order military officers around because of her social capital. Does that make sense? Yet at the same time, just like the preparation with this steam house plan that's interrupted by the externalities of weather that is outside of her control, I wonder, all of this is symbolism and it represents, despite Mao Mao's social capital, despite how far she has come, at the end of the day, within Royal Palace, Mao Mao is nothing but a lady in waiting officially. Despite how far she has come, despite all of her effort, reputation, she is still a nobody, and there's so many people can destroy her life if they wanted to. Just like the storm can destroy all of the progress, all of the scientific effort by Mao Mao. Or am I overthinking as always?
温める。
Wow, such work ethic.
天候はままならない。
Exactly what I said. Mama's blue eyes, man. Mesmerizing.
明け方。
明け方ってさっきだよ。できることやっとくからちょっとだけ寝たら。またこっち見てるね。
I think Lady Li Hua told her ladies in waiting, aka the peeping toms right now, to help Mama, to help her out. But I think they're shy, and I feel like they were apprehensive to approach Mao Mao because of Mao Mao's reputations and everything she did while she was saving Lady Li Hua, putting her foot down, dragging that makeup, a lady in waiting by the hair, slapping her, that slap that rang across the multiverse. Bah! Anyway, I think because of their history and the events of the past, I think they were apprehensive. But I think Li Hua told them to help out.
毎日毎日よく飽きないな。
Every day,
という
see?
か気が散る。
They're not just bored.
すごい。これがつまくれ
Aww.
花
Wow.
町ではみんなやってるよ。
綺麗だもんね。
What are they doing? Now everyone's doing it? Bro, Mao Mao, you are a trendsetter. You just started another trend. You didn't get to blue roses quite yet, but you got everyone to do manicure. Interesting. And again, going back to Mao Mao's trauma response of being hyper independent, her inability to receive help without feeling like she's indebted to another person. Because remember, that's not just being nice. Yes, it's very courteous to do so, but I think it's a deeper representation of her trauma. Same thing here. I think she pulled an all-nighter. Level 1 is because it is a delicate task. She needs to pay close attention, labor of love, because there is no do-over, sure. But I think the deeper level is, again, it's her hyper-independence, her inability to rely on other people because she feels like she might get let down, fear of failure. But again, I think it goes back to what I talked about with her attachment. She grew up not being able to depend on her primary caregivers, aka mom or parents. That's why as a young adult, as an 18-year-old, she struggles. That's why she pulled the all-nighter. Even though she knew and she knows that Xiaolan is more than happy to help her out. But she doesn't do that because of her hyper-independence. And remember, guys, like I said, hyper-independence looks great on the surface based on capitalistic values. Society's always telling us to be self-sufficient, rely on ourselves, don't be a burden to other people. There is some truth in that because it is our lives at the end of the day. At the same time, just a friendly reminder, hyper-independence is often a traumatic response based on our attachment struggle and our traumatic upbringing. Kawaii! She looks so
帝の寵
tired.
愛を受ける上級妃は 流行りの最先端だからな。
Cutting edge of fashion. I love the translation. Hmm?
毒味も終わりましたので水晶宮に戻ります。
She looks so tired.
園遊会まで時間がないので。
そうね。席をお譲りする形よ。
妊娠を隠すためか。
Oh, to hide the pregnancy is to spotlight Lady Luolan's introduction, but the actual reason, like Mama said, is to hide her secret. It's to hide her pregnancy, because it's likely gonna be a boy, and that means it's a pending prince, pending crown prince, because Emperor doesn't know about Jinshi. That means that will likely make Lady Gyokyu the future empress if this son survives. And that's why that will become such a threat to any other upper ranking concubines. That's why she's not attending. But also, this garden party is going to be so juicy. I don't know if that's going to be episode 22. I'm guessing probably episode 23 will be the garden party. Luolan, so much mystery. She is the least uncovered and least revealed character, not just because she came later into the season as the new upper first rank concubine, but because, like I suspected, I think she's the gear of this major machinery, a potential dooming and pending massive conflict and war between the empire, aka the emperor, and the north, aka the barbarians, right? So I think that's what Lady Luolan is. I think she's like the highest level of spy. That's my prediction from many episodes ago. But again, the garden party will be so revealing. Because remember, this is the second garden party of the season so far. The last garden party, I think, put Mama on the map as someone that's beyond just a poison taster, as this incredibly competent apothecary, this person that has wisdom, sharpness, intelligence. And I think the second garden party is to put Luolan on the map, who I think also has access, who is also incredibly witty, super smart, right? I think it's all, does that make sense? Anyway, enough of yapping. Yeah, the weather.
ありがとうございます。
She looks rough. Man. Uh-oh. Please. Oh, it's growing. Rose.
つぼみ。
Nice. Nice. Now she's crashing. Oh. Mama is absolutely exhausted. Her falling asleep is obviously she's absolutely exhausted and fatigued mentally, physically, and also emotionally. Because remember, this is not just a favor by Master Jinshi. This is a favor and request by Master Lakan, her dad. Think about the gravity of the situation. That's why Mama is doing everything she possibly can at the cost of her own health and well-being, because this is her first chess match, I think, against her dad, the master strategist. It's massive. No room for failure is what Mama was thinking. Oh, so garden parties this episode? Dang, all right. Dark circles. Look at those dark circles. That's why Jinshi paused, and then we saw Jinshi's facial expression kind of darkened a little bit, because again, I think he's heartbroken on behalf of Mao Mao's exhaustion. And I think in Jinshi's mind, whose fault is all this? Whose fault is it that Mao Mao is so exhausted? Master Lakan. The chess match continues. Cherry Blossom. Let's see where Jinshi sits. Oh, Luolan, the mysterious spy.
あれが師匠殿の娘
if my memory serves me correctly, in episode was it 15? Whatever episode Luolan was introduced, weren't the cherry blossoms also like flowers are falling when she was introduced in that scene in the beginning? And this is the second time she was introduced, and cherry blossom, the flowers are also falling. I don't know if that's just an aesthetic reason or if there is also symbolism there, since obviously flowers, plants are very major elements of this show. I wonder what that represents. Again, is it just again, I'm overcooking with the power of caffeine as always. I wonder if Luolan symbolically represents change of season, a change, disturbance, a major disturbance in the status quo. Again, when she was introduced, flowers are falling, which represents change of a season, going from maybe spring to a fall, any other weather conditions with a seasonal change. If you extrapolate it bigger into the entire storyline and the plot, I wonder if that's what Luolan represents. A major change. And change of season, not with weather, but seasons of Real Palace, seasons of the dynasty itself. How was Luolan walking all those steps with her eyes closed? Does she know echolocation? Oh, just kidding. That must be Luolan's dad.
何でもおっしゃってください。
Oh, Prince Jinshi! Yo! Oh, Blue Rose! Mamo did it. Wow. Wow. Goosebumps. Wow. Wow. Wow.
人士に向けられるあらゆる視線、いくら秀でた容姿があろうと、若造の宦官が出しゃばる様を好むほど無欲な感ばかりではない。
We saw the cameras cutting to the faces of those officers because I was like, why are they grunting? It's because Master Jinshi, literally that identity is a disguise. That is a smoking mirror. Because he's here as Emperor's favorite eunuch, Master Jinshi, not as Emperor's brother, Prince Jinshi. Otherwise, how dare these officers to look at Jinshi with those look? Does that make sense? And but again, my question is, when Jinshi was doing that ceremony, she walked through the Real Palace with Mamao in his arms because of her injury. He walked by a bunch of military officers. Were those only the top dogs? Only the top of the top military officers have an opportunity to witness who Jinshi is in light of the ceremony, and other lower ranking military officers do not have access to that information? Is that why? But we see that Jinshi here is wearing the Phoenix wardrobe. Remember I talked about emperors, or emperors are usually dragons, because dragon represents the highest prestige based on the mythical creature dragon, and Phoenix is usually right below, which is what a lot of queens, empresses wear. In this case, the crown prince. Interesting. Lust is fine.
安い
That's
厄
interesting.
介なのは何を考えているのかわからない目だ。
Mm.
師匠、ローラン妃の実父で だからこそこちらも微笑みを絶やさない。それに今師匠よりも厄介なのは
Wow, Lakan.
あの男だ。
Why did the camera just switch to Lakan fixing the other officer's whatever hat? That's weird. Is it supposed to portray Lakan as very harmless, even quirky person? That's why we see him just kind of fidgeting and fixing people's hats. Interesting. But I'm with Jinshi. And it's a lot of pivotal information that was just revealed just now. Sounds like Luolan's father is extremely high up and was favored by the mother of the previous emperor, to a point that the current emperor cannot even look him in the eyes. And think about the psychological power play. When Luolan stepped forward in front of the emperor himself, sky, the heavens of the country, Luolan's father was right beside her. And he said what? He said, hey, if there's anything that Luolan can do better, please do not hold back. That's ironic because he knows that emperor cannot speak his mind truly, honestly, and truly openly. Why? There's a power. There's politics. Sounds like Luolan's family is truly one of the highest, most prestigious lineages in the country, that even the emperor himself, with his checks and balances. Remember I talked about with the United States earlier, that it's not perfect. There's checks and balances, there's corruptions. Same here. Even in a dynasty setting, sure, emperor is the highest, but unless you want to be a huanjing, huanjing, here's the definition. Huanjing means emperors who are just like players who do not really focus on the country, the welfare of the country, who are just like horrible kings and horrible leaders. We call that huanjing. And huanjing is usually associated with gambling, woman, lust in Chinese era. But to be a mingjing, so huanjing means bad emperors. A mingjing means the opposite. A great king, a great emperor is called mingjing. Horrible kings are known as huanjing, right? Hopefully that helps. But I think the emperor is a mingjing. A mingjing, that means he's a good emperor. That's why he does care about the checks and balances. That's why he's not a dictator, because he has to maneuver with all these threads of political threads, political lines, strings attached, all these situations. And that's why I think Luolan's father was there, because Luolan's father being there in itself is a power move. He's like reminding the emperor that, hey, you might be the emperor, but don't forget about my daughter, concubine Lady Luolan. Yes, she might be new, but don't you dare treat her differently. You better treat her well because I have her back. I think that's the political message the father was sending by standing next to Luolan.
なんと嫌味な。
Oh, okay. And then we saw Lakan saying how annoying when he saw blue roses. I guess he came up with that as like impossible feat so he can embarrass Jinshi in front of the emperor. But to Lakan's surprise, Jinshi delivered. Interesting. A lot of politics. So much politics.
もう水晶宮に行っちゃダメよ。いつもやつれ果てて帰ってくるんだから。
Yinghua is the name of another flower in Chinese.
すみません。
起きたか。
Jinshi's here. Oh, one blue rose especially for Mama.
座ったままでいい。
難しいですね。開花には至りませんでした。
You did well.
俺に対してすまないと言うんじゃないのだろうな。
Mama was talking about Lakan.
これは一体どうしたんだ？
染めただけですよ。
Color dye.
何もついていないぞ。
外側で
Wow.
はありません。この装備はもともとすべて白い花なのです。
What?
それで青だけでなく
Color dyes? What in
は
the...
い。は
Wow.
園遊会の間色落ちしないよう色水の染み込んだ綿を固定すれば
Dude. Mao Mao. Man.
実際骨が折れたのは装備の花を
I literally asked about color dyes during this historical period and freaking Mao Mao invented or came up with color dyes?
で
What
何
is
かしら
going
言い
on?
がかりをつける感が出るかもし
Also, Mao Mao, are you listening? Are you listening right now?
最初に秘密を知るのが嬉しいらしく楽しそうに聞いてくださいました
Aww.
では昔宮廷内で青い装備
One more digital flower, pun intended, for Mao Mao. Dude, Mao Mao, again, back to my comments about Mao Mao's social capital. Her social capital is so much that she has the opportunity to demonstrate and explain and spend alone time with Emperor Sure, he was with Lady Yokyu, but still, you get it? How many ladies in waiting? How many officers? How many noble men and noble women have an opportunity to be in front of emperor on like a private time? Not many. Rhetorical question. But Mao Mao does. Wow. Unbelievable.
人がいたんでしょう。
Lakan. There must be someone with a lot of time feeding. Lakan. Lakan has that time because he's always napping, eavesdropping different teas and gossip, and always be thinking. He has a lot of time because he's spending most of his time thinking, right? Kind of reminds me of what Einstein used to say. Einstein is very known for spending 95% of his time and effort and energy thinking about the problem and then actually spending 5% remaining time to solving that problem. Lacan has that intellectual vibe. He's always free because he's thinking all the time.
.ホウセンカと型紙があればもっと綺麗に染まるんだけど。つま紅の異名を取るホウセンカと猫足の異名を取る型紙。二つを練り合わせて爪につけると鮮やかな赤になる。ま、綺麗に染めたところで、これでもまともになったんだけど。
Oh, Mama's looking at the pinky again. With my suspicion that maybe that pinky was cut by her mom who decided not to kill the baby Mama, but ended up stabbing her finger instead. But regardless, obviously, I think finger or Mama's pinky in the show represents Mama's trauma. So I think anytime Mama looks at her pinky, she's revisiting her trauma of the past. Obviously, a lot of that has not been revealed yet.
ガオシュン様、頼んでいたものは。
ええ、言われた通りに。
いかないやつに一泡吹かせるだけだ。
Here comes that smirk. Wow, so Mama didn't just accept the favor to create blue roses using color dyes and that photosynthesis process I talked about. She actually accepted that request to set the stage to go against Lacan, using her words to catch that air quote, creepy guy off guard. So Mama didn't just confront Lacan by accepting the seemingly impossible request. She even took a step further. She's taking ownership and actually wants to beat and best Lacan at his own game, aka strategizing. Wow, Mama.
にしても
Hype.
まさか挑発が失敗に終わるとは。
Wow. So Mama exceeded even the expectations of Lacan. I think Mama is even more impressive than what Lacan suspected as his daughter. Interesting episode. Feels like a filler, but definitely not a filler. Whoa, this is Lacan's perspective. Everyone looks like Go. Those are Go, right? Paduk, Go. Obviously his best game. Everyone, here's a symbolism. Most humans only look like Go stones to me, not because they're impersonable, but because to Lacan, everyone's either being used or used against. Everyone is a tool. Everyone is nothing but a move to make for Lacan. This is the perspective of a strategist. Humans are like tools to him.
白いし、軍部の部下の人間でもせいぜいシャンチーの駒だ。
Chess pieces. Most are pawns, yep.
とな
Wow.
っていく。軍部の仕事は簡単だ。駒に見合った配置をすればいい。適材適所、それで大体の戦は勝てる。勝手に仕事を終わらせてくれる。
Wow. That's delegation. You don't have to be the smartest leader. As a leader, you just have to learn to use smartest people. That's management 101.
いつも以上に目が痛い。どうにも赤い色がちらつく。けばけばしい赤ではない。うっすら染まった宝石。
Mamo and Lakan. I just got goosebumps. Wow. So that's what Mamo meant, to catch Lakan off guard by creeping up to him with her biggest weaponry, her biggest artillery fire, which is Gaoshan and Jinshi. Wow. Also, this is interesting. Again, I wonder if Lakan sees everyone as go pieces or chess pieces because he is truly sociopathic and he views everyone as pawns to be used. Because that's a very sociopathic, antisocial perspective. So I wonder that's an indication of Lakan's sociopathy, him being a sociopath, or him actually being autistic, interestingly enough. Lack of social cues, seeing humans not as humans, but things, which could be like a hallmark of autism based on spectrum, since autism is spectrum. And I know, guys, I'm sure I didn't expect myself to bring autism back since we just settled our discussions and conversations about Mamao's autism, or a lot of people's headcanoning about Mamao's autism. But here, from Lakan's perspective, seeing everyone as inanimate objects, aka go pieces and chess pieces, I wonder, is this indication or suggestion that Lakan might have autistic traits? Interesting. Anyway, enough said, enough yapping. As always, if you enjoy my in-depth yapping, smash that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to make sure you don't miss out on my next episode as you're coming towards the season finale. And as always, appreciate you for tuning in. Join our Patreon family and YouTube members if you want early access and exclusive content. And as always, remember, you matter. You are worthy. Till next week. Peace.